Creative Performance by Charles Bukowski, an excerpt from Ham on Rye. One day, Mrs. Freetag gave us an assignment. Our distinguished president, President Herbert Hoover, is going to visit Los Angeles today and speak. I want all of you to go hear our president, and I want you to write an essay about the experience and about what you think President Hoover's speech. Saturday. There was no way I could go Saturday. I had to mow the lawn. I had to cut the hairs. I could never get all the hairs. Almost every Saturday I got a beating with a razor strap because my father found a hair. There was no way I could tell my father I had to go see President Hoover, so I didn't go. That Sunday I took some paper and sat down to write about how I had seen the president. His open car, trailing, flowing streamers, had entered the football stadium. One car full of the Secret Service agents went ahead, and two cars followed close behind. The agents were brave men with guns to protect the president. The crowd rose as the president's car entered the arena. There had never been anything like it before. It was the president. It was him. He waved. We cheered. A band played. Seagulls circled overhead as if they too knew it was the president. And there were skywriting airplanes too. They wrote words in the sky like prosperity is just around the corner. The president stood up in his car, and just as he did, the clouds parted and the light from the sun fell across his face. It was almost as if God knew too. Then the car stopped, and our great president, surrounded by Secret Service agents, walked to the speaker's platform, and as he stood behind the microphone, a bird flew down from the sky and landed on the speaker's platform near him. The president waved to the bird and laughed, and we all laughed with him. Then he began to speak, and the people listened. I couldn't quite hear what the speech was saying because I was sitting next to a popcorn machine, which made a lot of noise, popping the kernels. But I think I heard him say that the problems with Manchuria were not serious, and that at home everything was going to be all right. We shouldn't worry. All we had to do was believe in America. There would be enough jobs for everyone. There would be enough dentists to and enough teeth to pull, and enough firefighters to put out fires, and mills and factories would open again. Our friends in the South America would pay their debts. Soon we would all sleep peacefully, our stomachs and our hearts full. God and our great country would surround us with love and protect us from evil, from the socialists, awaken us from our national nightmare forever. The president listened to the applause, waved, and then went back to his car, got in, and was driven off, followed by carloads of Secret Service agents, and the sun began to sink. The afternoon turning into evening, red and gold and wonderful, we had seen and heard President Herbert Hoover. I turned in my essay on Monday. On Tuesday, Mrs. Freeberg faced the class. I've read all your essays about the distinguished president's visit to Los Angeles. I was there. Some of you, I noticed, could not attend, for one reason or another. For those of you who could not attend, I would like to read this essay by Henry Chinaski. The class was terribly silent. I was the most unpopular member of the class by far. It was like a knife slicing through all their hearts. "This is very creative," said Mrs. Freetag, and she began to read my essay. The words sounded good to me. Everybody was listening. My words filled the room. From blackboard to blackboard, they hit the ceiling and bounced off. They covered Mrs. Freetag's shoes and piled up on the floor. Some of the prettiest girls in the class began to sneak glances at me. All the tough guys were pissed. Their essays hadn't been worth shit. I drank in my words like a thirsty man. I even began to believe them. I just saw Juan sitting there looking like he wants to punch me in the face. I stretched out my legs and leaned back. All too loose it was, all too soon it was over. Upon this grand note, said Mrs. Freetag, I hereby dismiss the class. They got up and began packing out. Not you, Henry, Mrs. Freetag said. I sat in my chair, and Mrs. Freetag stood there looking at me. Then she said, Henry, were you there? I sat there trying to think of an answer. I couldn't. I said, no, I wasn't there. She smiled. That makes it all the more remarkable. Yes, ma'am, you can leave, Henry. I got up and walked out. I began to my walk home. So that's what they wanted. Lies, beautiful lies. That's what they needed. People were fools. I it was going to be easy for me. I looked around. Juan and his buddies were not following me. Things were looking up. Thank you.